Hello and welcome to ThinkShare. My name's Zach, here to bring to what I've been thinking about, sharing about, talking about, listening to, reading about that doesn't belong in math class. If you're new to the channel, I invite you to subscribe. Recently, my wife and I have been watching the season 2 of 13 Reasons Why. And it's, it brings up a lot of touchy subjects, a lot of not great memories. And I wanted to share a couple thoughts with you from a teacher's point of view. So I'm a high school math teacher. I have about 130-ish students between my geometry classes and Algebra 2. And one of the things that I really gained, so last year I actually watched the first season, and I was in between disturbed, really emotional. I had a hard time getting through it. Honestly, believe it or not, I actually fainted. Part of it was I didn't eat enough. I didn't drink enough water. And we binge watched about like 6 hours of it. Like it was like a weekend, and we ended up watching the last episode at like 2 a.m. on a Sunday morning. And it's one of those shows it's easy to want to get into the next episode. But one of the biggest things I really got out of watching it, and I think there's so many people out there that watch it just to watch it, like they watch it for the drama of it, or the shock value of it, or I think a lot of people really like sort of teenage dramas. And as a teacher, so at the time I was teaching 8th grade middle school math, and I think one of the things that a lot of us teachers don't realize is we're watching we're experiencing school in a different way than it was back when we were in school. So I graduated in 2008 from high school, graduated college in 2012 in my bachelor's. I didn't have an iPhone until about late 2012, which means I had a camera phone somewhere around like late 2008. I had one going into college, but there was me and my wife were recently watching, we were watching this like comparison of 2008 versus like 2012 and the difference in social media and things. And by the way, for those watching, I'm posting this right now on ThinkShare. I'm live streaming on both ThinkShare and Zachary Watson. So people on the Zachary Watson channel, if you go into the description, you'll actually see that I'm on ThinkShare. If you would please jump over there. I'm about to sign off on Zachary Watson in a minute. I'm just going to finish off what I was saying there. But one of the biggest things I got out of it was realizing the difference between when I was in high school and what high school is like now. The technology is totally different. Social media is totally different. Like, I want to give you a picture. I'm one of the younger teachers out there. You're not going to find anyone like super, super younger than me. But I was the first person, or I was like the third or fourth person in my high school. I think the first in my grade to have Facebook. My freshman year of high school, we had MySpace. That was the beginning of social media. And I want you to realize, because that was the beginning of it, there's so many things that didn't exist. There was no Snapchat. There was no Instagram. There wasn't Twitter. The Snapchat that we see that so many teachers are afraid of, like sexting and stuff, that was not nearly as big of a deal in my years, because social media was still very, very new. It was much harder to see everyone's stuff. And so a lot of the problems that we see along with social bullying and the speed with which you can be bullying somebody else, and that can, how quickly that can move throughout a community, has exponentially grown. And because the speed of that has exponentially grown, the speed with which teachers need to react to situations has also become more important and urgent. So for teachers out there that, you say, oh, that's a teenage show, I don't need to watch that, I don't need the drama of it, I don't watch the pain of it. The reason I really invite you to watch it is because I think you will have an appreciation a little bit more for what it could be like for, more specifically than anything, females in that age group. I did not realize, one, as like, I've been a pretty privileged white male, that I mean, I had some bullying in high school, but comparatively, I really don't think it compares with a lot of the bullying that exists out there. Because when your life is on social media and they can bully you and find you like everywhere on social media, that like is your life. You can't even go into the internet, which the internet is our lives these days. And so like I could go home and escape the bullying, but when your life is centered around social media, that's a game changer. For people that are on the Zachary Watson channel, I'm about to sign off, and please head over to ThinkShare. It's a dead channel, the Zachary Watson channel, and I'm trying to bring people slowly over. So if you would hit the link in the description of this video, Zachary Watson, that'll bring you over to ThinkShare. People on ThinkShare, I'm pointing at you right now. Stay where you are. Thank you for watching, and please join me over here. So I think the most valuable thing I've really gotten out of it is a much higher awareness. I think so many teachers don't realize how unaware they probably are of things that are going on around them. A really bad, embarrassing example is juuling. So if anyone knows about this, is that in high schools these days, there's a lot of students that are vaping, and vaping has a lot of nicotine in it, and it's sort of like the new cigarette. It's a new substance students are using to get a head high or whatever. And believe it or not, and I'm embarrassed to say this, is I didn't necessarily realize what I was looking for. I didn't see when it was happening, and students have told me before that it's happened in class before. Like students have gotten away with it. And I think a lot of them don't want to be the one that rats out a friend or rats out someone else. They don't want to be called a snitch. They don't want to be called names. They don't want to be that person that is no longer on the social end of things. So they're not going to give up that information. I don't blame them, because that's on me. I got to be able to recognize that. So what I think the show helped me see was a lot of the other issues and things that could be happening that I wasn't recognizing. So for example, spoiler alert, spoilers. We just watched, I think, the 3rd or 4th episode in season 2 of 13 Reasons Why, and this girl comes into the class, and there's multiple pictures of what looks like her drinking at a party or something, and it says, "Who would believe a drunk?" I believe it calls her a slut or something like that. And to think that I could leave the room for a very short period of time, say 2 or 3 minutes, and ask another teacher, "Hey, can you just watch my room? I'm gonna run to the bathroom like in between periods and show up a minute or 2 later." And for that to happen in my classroom scares the poop out of me. I would normally say the other word because I don't mean to make this funny, but like the possibility of that happening really scares me. And I think for some teachers that might not appreciate the type of social anxiety that exists out there, I mean, I think the type of anxiety that exists out there is different than when we were in high school. As much as bullying still exists, and it's still bullying, I really feel like it's a new level of it. I mean, I've experienced some bullying on the internet as I've made YouTube videos. People have had a lot of homophobic comments they've put on there. But through that, I've developed really, really tough skin. In fact, I invite haters to come onto my videos and pump up the comments, and I will happily have a philosophical conversation with you. I will, there have been a couple people that I've gone on for 50 comments back and forth that have a very disagreeing opinion. Some of them ignorant, some of them a bit more are able to intellectually keep up and not just start using swears. But either way, I don't think we realize the kind of bullying that exists, especially for teachers that were not around at all for the social media age when they were as teenagers or in college. I mean, I went through college with Facebook being like the #1 thing. And, towards the end of my college career, Instagram started to show up and Snapchat started to show up. But I know that I have not experienced nearly what the students are today, because smartphones just didn't exist till I was at the end of college. Camera phones were crappy, and getting a video of something was not nearly as easy as it is today. So my call to action, and I'll come to the comments in a second, but at the same time, I am gonna actually wrap it up pretty shortly today, is I invite you to tell your teachers about this message. Have them watch it, one, because I think it's an important show that if a teacher can watch it, that's one more thing they can reference and be on the same page with their students. I also feel like they will just have a much better understanding of the type of anxiety students can be dealing with, the type of, I'm gonna use the word omnipresent, so like always present possible camera. Like today, there were a lot of students absent for a reason I won't discuss, but there are a ton of students absent. And one of my classes, we're working on a project. And there were enough students I knew I could deal with having the phones that I said, hey, if your partner's not here, FaceTime them and put in headphones. Like, I'm okay if they have the materials at home, I'm okay with you working on them. Like, use the technology. This is what real life looks like after high school and when you're not being so closely eyed on things. And there was one point, like, I recognized, a student was FaceTiming, and I saw him. I actually said hi to the other person on the other end, and they tipped the phone just enough to have me in the lens. And I wasn't talking about anything bad, or I was like, hey, do you have that phone on me? And they're like, no. But like, I knew that was happening. And I think so many teachers, because they're not plugged into the reality of a lot of their students in the age group that they're working with, they don't necessarily know all the things that are going on. So I think it was a real eye-opener. As a privileged white male, I had the opportunity to see, I think, behind the lens of a demographic that I don't recognize enough. And for me to be able to see behind the lens of someone else was truly valuable, because if I can have a better idea of what they're going through, there's a better chance I can help them in a crisis situation, or in really any kind of situation that they could be dealing with some serious bullying. Thank you to everyone in the comments. In the chat right now, I know you've been putting a lot of things in, but I really had to just kind of speak my heart on this one. I want to be hanging out with my wife, and so this is what I'm going to do, is I'm going to go back in and look for like the questions that people want to, and I'll create a follow-up video. So thank you again. And when this post, feel free to, if you put it as a comment on this video as a question, that will be more likely to be answered at the top, just because it'll be a little bit easier to access. But thank you so much for everyone watching. I hope this inspires you to tell your teacher about it, even to share this video if you think that'll make a difference. But I think the purpose is, I want to see teachers be able to relate to their students, relate to the social media and the existence of technology in classes, because I simply don't think, even myself as a fairly young person with an iPhone, pretty damn tech savvy, I know there's a lot of things I miss, and it freaks me out to think that there's so much more I could be missing just based on some things I saw in this show. So thank you all for watching. Thank you all for your support. Thank you so much for having such a lively conversation. Again, I apologize. I'm going to be going hang out with my wife, as we didn't really get enough time to hang out last night. So thank you. If you like this, give it a like. If you dislike this, give it a dislike. Thank you for watching. Stay weird, humans. Yay!